Hello everyone, John 345 here, and today I have a build of the Master Grade GP-03 STAMEN. This is an old Master Grade that came out in the year 2001, and now it's 2022, so that's a good 11 years ago. Also, this kit is known as the worst Master Grade of all time, being released in 2001 next to the Hakushiki, Goof, and all the other great kits. It was pretty lackluster. If you've seen any YouTube videos, you'd know that most YouTubers hate this kit. But let's not get ahead of ourselves and let's take a look at the runners. As you can see here, there's a really nice blue runner with clear parts, yellow parts, and red parts. The plastic does feel pretty solid. Over here we have white runners, which I would assume are for the shields. We get two of them because the shield is a huge surfboard. Over here you can see that we have the leg parts, and the inner frame is molded in this nice gray and has a lot of detail. Sadly, you'll be covering most of those detail up with the armor pieces. And here is the white external armor. There are some details here and some holes where the inner frame detail would poke out of. I've said a lot of details. Over here we have Kouraki and his carrot-loving ways. Oh wait, no, he hates carrots. Anyway, he's very detailed. And here you can see the vents are solid with no holes in them. I'm gonna whip out the drill for that. And here we have an open palm, which is of course my favorite. Nice detailed little fingers over here. Limited articulation. This is an all Master Grade kit, and being an all Master Grade kit, you get this huge cardboard piece displaying the completed model kit. That just looks great, and I hate how they removed that from the newer Master Grades. Also, something older Master Grades have that newer don't. These screws. I would assume these are for the legs, and I am not looking forward to using them. Also, by the way, I've been quite busy with my builds. This is my BDSM DOM, and no, I don't call it BDSM because of the colors, but because it stands for Brief Deployment Specialized Model. Yeah, okay, BDSM. Anyway, the idea was to have a DOM that was supposed to go in and go out as quickly as possible with the single-use weapons. As you can see, the rockets. Anyway, let's get on with the build with my rusty trusty building tools, and don't forget to like this video if you like it, and the usual if you don't, but please don't, I really need the support. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and let's get on with the cutting of the parts of the runners. As usual, I always prepare all my parts before I start snapping them together, so it's always handy to have these tools around. This is a new sanding sponge that I got, so this is what I usually do to clean nubs. I'll first go in with my nipper and then my X-Acto blade and get as close as possible to the base plastic. Once I have slowly chipped away the remainder of the nub, I'll go in with a glass file and then finish off with the sanding sponge buffer nail thing. And there I have it, a really clean and smooth surface. So all I have to do, just repeat it for all the parts. And if I hold a part next to the unprepared one, as you can see here, this one's all nice and glossy. On both sides, obviously. And up next to a unprepared part, you can see that the difference is night and day. So remember to clean your parts. Here we go with the assembly. This is the first part of the arms. So here you can see we have a polycap sandwiched between two white pieces. What do? Let's find out once we're done building it. So squeeze that tightly together. And we shall prepare another part. This one just has a black piece going into a white piece, and it sorts of builds up something that looks like calipers. Here we have another long gray piece, kind of mysterious. We insert a poly cap, just slide it into that point. So far everything's fitting really well. And now the parts that we previously built, just attach them to this long gray thing. This is starting out to be a weird looking build. Well, actually, I'm gonna spoil it for you. For those of you who don't know, the GP-03 STAMEN actually has hidden arm units in its arms. Yes, while something as cool as the O would have hidden arm units in its skirt, The STAMEN has the hidden arm units in its arms. So who would expect, right? To have arms in your arms, get the enemy by surprise. Yeah, very smart. Anaheim Electronics, I think it's by Anaheim. I know it's designed by Nina Purpleton. Also, the guys who were responsible for this build also became the Titans, and then you can see those arms in peculiar places being reflected in something like the Hazel, and as the aforementioned DO. So yeah, a little bit of backstory for the GP-03, actually for all the GP series of suits. GP stands for the Gundam Development Project. Well, that's what the wiki says. So if it's Gundam Development Project, shouldn't these suits be called the GDP-01, GDP-02, GDP-03, GDP-04? I have a better theory. GP stands for Gundam Purpleton because these suits were designed by Nina Purpleton. So GP 01, 02, 03, Gundam Purpleton 01. It's got a ring to it, don't it? Also, I'm not gonna go into detail as to who Nina Purpleton is, aside from the fact that she designed these suits and also betrayed our carrot-loving friend, giving him an existential crisis. And also, the fandom is hell-bent on labeling Ko Uraki as a horrible pilot because he wrecked the GP-01. Every time he sat in the cockpit, it was going to come back broken. Can you blame him? I mean, these are prototype suits and they were designed by Nina Purpleton. No, I don't hate Nina Purpleton. What's wrong with you? Anyway, Ko Uraki went toe-to-toe with Annabelle Gatto. Lore-wise, Annabelle Gatto could have fought Amuro to a standstill. Also, you gotta take that with a grain of salt because that comes from one of the obscure games that I forgot the title of. I think it's something Giren knows ya boy. Anyway, if Ko Uraki went toe-to-toe against someone who fought Amuro to a standstill, or could fight Amuro to a standstill, doesn't that literally make him like as good or slightly better than Amuro? I know he gets the benefit of a more advanced suit, but still, pilot skills do come into play. There's no AI in this. This isn't Gundam Sentinel. This isn't Ryu Roos getting his ass whooped and handed to him several times till Alice has to come in and take over. No hate on Ryu Roos, but he has a stupid name. Anyway, back to GPO 3. So, the Gundam Development Project, or as I would like to call it, and I have told you previously, the Gundam Purpleton operation, actually no, the O stands for 0. It's some code army thing. I don't know, I was never in the army. So GPO-1 was focused on the maneuverability of a mobile suit, while GPO-2 was focused on the firepower, if you couldn't already tell by the giant nuclear warhead shooting pipe it has on its shoulder, which Gato stole and showed the Feddies how it's done. War crimes, gotta love it. They have a treaty. What treaty? Antarctic treaty? Antarctic suggestion. Now have this nuke and be gone, all of you. Sig Zion, that is great. Gave me goosebumps, the best scene in the series. Oh, speaking of scene, if you haven't realized, the GPO units come from this show called Stardust Memories. I know, silly name. I'm not gonna cover it with anything. So anyway, the GPO-3 was designed for versatility and heavy firepower. So it was basically the combination of the GPO-1 and GPO-2. Very clever, you see, because 1 plus 2 is 3. Quick maths, yes, and all that. So it's developed for base defense in space, according to Gundam Wiki. The Gundam Dendrobium is the attachment that will be used with the GPO-3. The GPO-3 basically sits inside the Dendrobium, making it a massive mobile armor. We see that in the show and used, I wouldn't say poorly, I guess it was used pretty effectively. I mean, Ko Uraki dodged 1 billion rockets with that thing, and that thing is the size of a battleship. If the Dendrobium could move as fast as that and dodge all those rocket salvos from the new Zeal. Okay, help me out here. In the comments, Let me know how to say that name of the mobile armor that Annabelle Gatto piloted. Is it Neuvzil or Newzil? Is that a U or a V? Because when I was playing the Gundam Battle Assault games, it looked like it's a V, so I've been calling it Neuvzil the whole time, and it's probably Newzil. I won't look at the Gundam wiki because I want you guys to help me out and answer that question. Do let me know in the comments, like, how do you say that name of the mobile armor? So anyway, the GP-03 goes into the Dendrobium, making it a huge mobile armor that surprisingly can dodge rocket salvos. So if you have plot armor, this is probably plot dodging, plot avoidance, plot anti-rocket, plot shaft grenades, shaft anti-heat seeking. It's nuts. If you watch the whole fight, it's like they all dodge rockets, and then the Dendrobium launches its own salvos of missiles, and then New Zeal just dodges all of it. Those two pilots are insane. Also, the Dendrobium has a eye field generator. And fun fact, if you had played the SD Gundam G Generation 0 games, they have an even more absurd version of that fight. Everything moves so fast in the cutscene. It was intense. So I don't know why I'm talking about the Dendrobium, since the Master Grade does not come with the Dendrobium add-on. If you do want the Dendrobium, then you will have to settle for the HGUC, and it's huge. Just go onto Google and take a look at the HGUC Dendrobium. It's massive. It's probably wider than the Neo Zeong HGUC kit. If you have a lot of space in your house and you don't live with anyone else because you're a lonely Gundam fan who has no friends nor family, then the GP-03 Dendrobium HGUC kit is definitely one for you. It's massive, it has a huge shelf presence, and it's probably big enough to provide you the warmth of a family that you're lacking. So back to this build, as you can see, now I'm currently building the ankle parts, and there's these little piston things and a lot of poly caps and covering parts. It's pretty good that they provide these little things to cover the seam lines, but this kit is riddled with seam lines galore. You'll see later on when you start building the weapons. And here we go with another polycap. Quite a heavy polycap kit. Time to insert the ankle joint into the feet, because where else would it go? And it looks to give like quite a nice form of articulation. Let's just put on this white armor piece here. And we also have another armor piece on the back. There you go. This being an old Bandai kit, everything seems to fit suspiciously. No, suspiciously is not the word. Worryingly tight. So I did not cut the pegs, and I might not be able to remove the parts once I want to paint them. But with my work schedule that affords me not even enough time to scratch my ass, I don't think I'll be painting this kit anytime soon. Seriously, that BDSM DOM took almost 2 years to complete. And it's not even like all the way complete. Some parts haven't been painted. So here you go with the pistons going in. Snugly fit. And I can already tell where these screws are going to go just by looking at that hole. And it's clear that these screws go to the ankles. Anyway, back to the Dendrobium. I forgot to mention that the Dendrobium is the name of the STAMEN and the mobile armor backpack monstrosity combined. So the mobile armor alone is called the Orchis, ORCHIS. Orchis as in orchid, flower thing. I'll get back onto the flower thing later on. Anyway, so the STAMEN and the Orchis get combined together to become the Dendrobium. Now, the Dendrobium is the name of a real world orchid. A big white orchid with a little protrusion in the middle. So apparently all the GP units in Stardust Memories, Nina Purpleton named them after flowers. So GP-01 is the Zephyrantes. Also the GP-01 comes in the regular form and the full burner form. and GP-02 is the physalis. You can just Google these names up and you will definitely see flowers. So GP-03 is the only one that is named after a part of the flower, which is the stamen. That little protrusion thing that I said that was in the dendrobium. Yeah, that's the stamen of the flower. And the dendrobium is a giant orchid. So they named the mobile armored orchis as orchid. Yeah. And the GP-04 is known as the gerbera, also a flower. I'm not very good with flowers, so don't ask me what it looks like. Just Google it. Flowers. So anyway, this build is gonna take a while. How about I entertain you with the history of the kit as written on the Gundam Wiki. So the RX-78, it shares the same number as the original Gundam, the granddaddy RX-78, because it was built off of that. We also had the RX-79, the NT1 Alex. I believe it's 79, right? Don't flame me if I'm wrong. So anyway, the RX-78 GP-03 Gundam Dendrobium was the third unit built as part of the Gundam development project, which I would like to call the Gundam Purpleton project. I mean Gundam Purpleton. Yeah, we went through that already. Unlike the first two, the Dendrobium was never brought down to Earth, instead remaining in space aboard the La Vie en Rose. And for those of you who have watched Gundam Zeta, you would be familiar with the La Vie en Rose. That is a huge spaceship. Actually, spaceship would be the wrong word. It is a huge factory. According to the Gundam Wiki, it is known for being a dockable orbital manufacturing plant and the facility that last held the GP-03 Gundam Dendrobium Orchis. Whew, long name. So the La Vie en Rose was holding this monster of a mobile armor for elaborate field testing, and then they delivered it to the Von Braun lunar facility. Von Braun lunar facility is located on the moon. So the La Vie en Rose serves as a heavy repair facility and testing platform for Anaheim Electronics, the main heroes of the Gundam universe. As you all know, Anaheim Electronics provides all the cool things in Gundam franchise. Without Anaheim Electronics, we wouldn't get such a cool kit as this Stamen. Anyway, back to the Dendrobium. So it was on the La Vie en Rose under the supervision of the Earth Federation Forces Security Officer Nakoha Nakato. I just butchered that name. It's Nakoha Nakato, according to the the hiragana katakana thing. Okay, continue on. So alongside Nakato, you also have the Anaheim Electronic System engineer Lucette Audiver. And so after the Delaz fleet used a nuclear warhead, the Delaz fleet is that thing that, not that thing, it's the fleet that Gato was with. So after they dropped that nuclear warhead, they can't really drop it. After they launched that nuclear warhead into the bunch of Fedi scum at the Konpei Island for the naval review, see, that's the coolest bit. See, Gato knew that those uptight Fedis were going to have a little show off of their naval superiority, space naval superiority at least. So they were bringing all their fancy ships and fancy schmancy technology with all their men and all, and we was gonna do some stupid thing like salute out into space with flags and all, and pledge allegiance to Supreme Leader John Federation or something. So yeah, he nuked all of them. That was great. Good job, Gato. So anyway, after they nuke the naval review and the subsequent mutual destruction of both the Zephyrantes and Physalis, the Albion, which is the mothership that the Carrot Living Kouraki was in, docked at La Vie en Rose to resupply and repair, and that time Captain Afar Synapse and pilot Carrot Living Kouraki argued that they should be given the Orchis and Stamen components so that they could continue their pursuit of Gato. Because, that's what the Federation does. They just go up to Anaheim Electronics and go like, hey, you should give us this advanced technology that you have because reasons. Yeah. We just need to, pursue this really handsome blonde hair. Oh, wait, no, he's not blonde. White hair guy who looks like Sephiroth, but a lot cooler. So, anyway, Nakato was like, no, you can't take it. And Lucette, who was in charge of the Dendrobium's construction and development, helped the crew of the Albion steal the mobile weapon at the cost of her own life. Now, let that sink into your mind for a few minutes. All right, so the Federation forces, which then became the Titans, superior war criminals, basically told Anaheim Electronics like, "Hey, I want this prototype weapon. Give it to us." And then they were like, "No, you can't have it because this is our prototype weapon, and we don't care if you're trying to chase some sexy white-haired man." And then the development team decides like, you know what? The Federation are the good guys. Let's help them steal this thing. Steal, good guys. That doesn't match. All right. I don't care what you're trying to pursue or what you're going after. Stealing a suit, getting the development crew killed, so you can pursue your own independent purposes. Actually, yeah, I'm giving the Federation a bad rep. They were actually trying to stop Gato from dropping a colony, which would have been super sick. Like, this time they won't miss. It won't land in Australia for sure. It's definitely gonna land in some Fedi base, in some outback place. Yeah. So, anyway, while the suit, the mobile armor platform, everything was designed for defensive use, pilot carrot-loving Kouraki would use the Dendrobium offensively. I hope he did purchase insurance for that kit, because not only is he going to steal the Dendrobium, he's also going to wreck it. He proceeded to use it offensively in a series of hit-and-run attacks, also known as ghetto tactics, against the Delaz fleet, turning to the Albion to restore all his weapons and resupply and all that usual stuff. So with its large amount of missile ordnance, the Dendrobium made for a dangerous opponent to Gato's New Zeal. That big green pickle in space, which relied on its I-field generators for most of its defense. Both machines were heavily damaged after their last confrontation outside of the colony the Delaz fleet was dropping on North America. Yes, the colony was designated for North America, which I would assume is Canada. So that's pretty mean, Xeon. Why would you bomb Canada? Canada's such a friendly place. They always say oot in a boot. And my favorite videographer, Peter McKinnon, is from Canada. So anyway, yeah. Basically, the Dendrobium and the New Zeal was outside fighting in space like good old mobile suits, and then they got blasted by the colony laser. And the solar-powered colony laser was meant to destroy the colony that was being dropped on Earth. Oh, by the way, the operation of dropping the colony on Earth was called Operation Stardust, which is why the show is called Stardust Memories. Because we're in the future and we're looking back on those carrot-filled memories, I guess. So they both got hit with the colony laser, and the New Zeal, since it didn't have a detachable little mobile suit like a tiny act guy jumping out of its cockpit or something, Gato died. Gato died when he got destroyed by the colony laser, while Ko in his Dendrobium, a superior machine I would say, was alright because only the Orchis part was damaged, and the Stamen could just pop out and he was fine. He was like, "Ooh, I'm fine, please give me my carrot." So yeah, that is the conclusion of the Stardust Memory stories. There is a lot going on in that show as well, and it's not that long. If I was not mistaken, it's only 12 episodes long and is packed filled with Top Gun references. The entire show is basically an homage to Top Gun, with the planes being obviously replaced with mobile suits and Tom Cruise being replaced by some guy who really dislikes these little orange roots that grow in the ground, which are known as carrots. And yeah, carrots. Why carrots? So this is the kit here, all complete. Well, not 100% complete, but the mobile suit itself is done. As you can see, it looks pretty nice by itself. And through the build, you can guess that the upper part also detaches. And why does it detach? Because there are Top Gun references, and as I said, they replaced the planes with mobile suit, but the mobile suits have planes in them. Well, only the Zephyrantes and the Stamen, though. This was not in the anime, though. It was not in the anime Stardust Memories because the GP-03 never had atmospheric combat. It was, as I said, it was in space on the Levian Rose, so using a jet fighter in space would be awfully awkward. So they included this little jet fighter for the atmospheric version, or the gravity version of the GP-03. which was pretty great on Bandai's part to have included. So now you can either choose between the regular GP-03 Stamen that was in the show, which was specifically for space use and did not have a jet core fighter, or you can have the atmospheric combat Earth use GP-03, which had a cool looking jet fighter. So as you can see here, we're building up the jet fighter with all the parts necessary to replace the torso. We have all these folding gimmicks, folding mechanics, and nice separated parts with individual colors and detail. We do, however, have to paint in the panel lines and some other things that you'll see later on. So this is the expansion gimmick for the jet fighter, because it has these boosters on the side that you can pull out and fold up so that it fits into the GP-03. Also, when you use the jet fighter, you get a different backpack. You get different verniers. I think they're called Ambac system. So you get a different looking backpack on the GP-03, which is great. I mean, if you didn't like the space use one, which looks slightly round around the backpack, you can get this sharper, more agile looking atmospheric use one. This is the part I was mentioning. This is going to be the back part of the GP-03. You have a little wing that folds in Macross style without the gears. And you can already see the parts of the jet plane coming together. We just have to build two of these and attach them to the core piece of the jet plane. And then you'll get a little tiny jet fighter, which looks very sick. And horrible seam line, oh god. Gotta whip out the putty for that. Super glue is not gonna be enough. So anyway, here are two of the wing parts. And as I said before, there's a little slide that you can push the wing into. Now it's time to attach all of them together and make that little airplane. And there you have it. That is a nice looking airplane. And Bandai, just in case you didn't want to use the jet plane in the core of the mobile suit, they provided these little landing gears so you can display it next to the mobile suit. And here I'm going to show you how it replaces the core section, the torso section of the Stamen. It's a simple transformation, nothing someone who built a Zeta Gundam 2.0 would have to worry about. Easy peasy. Just fold these in the back, open those little flaps in the front, and sit it in nice and comfy like. Put on the upper half of the torso, close the cockpit, and as you can see, we get some holes in the vents on the chest. That is the difference between the atmospheric version and the space version. This nice looking backpack and the vents. Now let's move on to the weapons. This being an old kit, as I said, lots of seam lines. So here you can see this horrible looking seam line. Nothing some Mr. Cement Deluxe can't fix. Just put that on there and clip it. Let's move on to the Bazooka. A simple, straightforward assembly. This Bazooka has a cool gimmick where you can fold it for easier storage, which is why it has more than the usual amount of parts for a Bazooka. Oh, there seems to have been a broken peg. I didn't break this peg, I swear it was broken out of the box. But let's fix it. So fixing a broken peg like this, remember to save the broken piece. Here I am using a needle from an old airbrush that I no longer use. Just break off a piece like this. If you're weak, you can use pliers to chop it off. Get your trusty drill bit, I think it's called a pin vise, and insert a drill that is slightly smaller than the peg itself. It's gonna take some trial and error. So what you're gonna have to do is drill the hole through and slowly work your way up until you can fit the airbrush needle into it. Not a loose fit, but a tight fit. So as you can see here, it's pretty tight. Now you drill all the way through, insert that little piece that you have broken off, and now you have a replacement peg. Make sure it's straight though. So here's some checking and it seems pretty straight. So remember the little nub that I told you to save? We're going to use that to provide a better fit. So drill a hole through that little nub. Be sure not to drill all the way through. And then we're going to add some Mr. Cement Deluxe and insert that little nub there. You'll see why in just a minute. So once the glue has settled, we can start drilling all the way through. Drilling and drilling, and now you can see that that little nub is so that this part has grip. Without that nub, this thing's just gonna flip and fly all over the place and not provide the proper gimmick of the folding and locking system of the Bazooka. So now that we have everything set up, just drill all the way through and you can finish the assembly, no problem. Now that's an easy fix for a broken peg. Don't forget to clean up after you're done. This gives it a really nice look and looks more polished. Now this little metal piece was a little too long, so whip out your prison breaking file, shorten it, and it should fit pretty flush. Moving on with the assembly of the Bazooka, this is the barrel. So now that everything's all done, we can with confidence build the whole weapon setup. And since you already made sure to ensure that the drills that you made were straight, there should be no fitting issues at all. So push that pin all the way through. You might need some help with the needle for some of that pushing, and once you do, there you have it. Makes for a nice detail part now. Slight modification. You can call me Meijin 345, Gunplum Meister, GBWC champion. Just kidding. Here's the scope for the Bazooka. Just put in the clear piece. Put that scope right in there, and here is how it folds. Pretty sick. So this makes for a more compact Bazooka that you can store in the back, I think. So let us finish the Bazooka by adding the muzzle. I believe that's called a muzzle. It's muzzle for gun, but for a Bazooka, muzzle, yeah, it's the same thing. There you go. And we're done with the glue drying for the rifle, so let's clean it up a bit. This sanding sponge buffer thing is an all-in-one tool and it's pretty useful. So as with the Bazooka, we are also building the scope for the rifle. I wouldn't call this a scope though, because the Gundam doesn't really look through it, right? It's more of a camera and aiming assist thing. Nice rifle, by the way. Let's move on to the gigantic surfboard of a shield. Here, this white part is accompanied with the nice blue part. Make sure to build 2 of these, and this will be the midsection. They have a unique looking polycap which will hold both part of the shield for the folding gimmick. Yes, the shield does fold as well, because you do know that the stamen has to dock into the Orchis, so I guess everything has to be folded. Fun fact, in the show, I believe that the stamen used its foldable arms in the forearm to reach and get the Bazooka. I also assume that he would have grabbed the shield with it. Here you can see that we are storing ammo packs for the rifle. You get 4 in total. That's a lot of ammo. Nice shield. And this is the folding gimmick. Looks pretty neat. And let's build the beam saber handles and attach the beam saber effect parts. This one's dented from the box, yeah. And you can store them in the space version backpack. Just like that. You can't store them in the atmospheric one though. And here we have the hands. They fit real snugly, like with a clip that clips onto the palm. So to attach the shield, you first have to open the forearm calipers and clip it tight, just like that. There is also a little peg that you can slip into the forearm, which allows for more secure fit. So what do I think of this kit after building it? Well, I would say that since it came out in 2001, where we could have gotten the Master Grade Hyakushiki 1.0, the Master Grade Refined Gundam Zeta, and if we waited 4 years after that, we would get something as amazing as the Master Grade Act Guy. So this kit had been dealt a really poor hand being released during that time. It should have been released sooner, probably closer with the EZ8 Gundam. So overall, this kit does have its redeeming qualities, mainly being that it's really detailed, inner frame wise, and on the external frame as well. And it has all the gimmicks necessary for the GP-03 Stamen. Also, it's the only 1/100 scale kit of the GP-03. And that being said, it also comes with a lot of accessories. Well, not a lot. The mobile suit itself doesn't have a bunch of accessories, but it has everything that you need for the GP-03, even some extras, such as this atmospheric core fighter. So that's it for the build video of this GP-03 Stamen. Thank you all for watching once again, and hope to see you in the next video.